Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Senator Manchin just told reporters that he doesn't support the House bills. So that is still so getting all Democrats on board is still a challenge.
Gun control. Remember what I said about Manchin and the likes of Kyrsten Sinema when it comes to Republicans and the worry about the Senate? Why doesn't Manchin? Well, first of all, Manchin's a West Virginia guy. West Virginia, guns, freedom. Even though he's a Democrat, think old school Democrat, right? Like think of Alabama. Remember that McBand, Alabama, talking about, kind of the unions and those kind of things. We think throwing, any more in politics, putting together, saying they're Republicans or they're Democrats, they're not all made the same. Some are, as they call them, rhinos, right? Others are, you got the old Reagan Democrats, and there's a lot of different things that go into this. But when it comes to gun control, you look around. Kyrsten Sinema, I think, would be definitely somebody else in the Senate that would push back. Part of the reason is, well, she's in Arizona. We're big on guns here in Arizona. We're big on guns. Now, her cohort out there, Mark Kelly, obviously would definitely be for it. And the reason's pretty simple. Gabby Giffords' wife was shot and several people were killed and gunned down by Jared Loughner. If you guys remember that. So there's going to be pushback. And part of the pushback comes from the fact that you look around and you look at a situation like gun control and what took place the other day is much like the immigration thing. We think of this thing as, there's a problem to be solved. There's money to be made, power to be grabbed, a problem to be solved, potentially, but why would we want to solve a problem that we don't really think is broken? Because to us, if you're a politician, raising money and keeping power is what it's all about, keeping your job. It's not about advancing certain things. It's about political theater and the opportunity to have your say and get across something that's soundbite worthy.
We face a pandemic of coronavirus. We have another epidemic in America called guns. We are numb to the numbers. Unless we are personally touched, it's just another statistic. That has got to stop. This committee, this hearing, I hope will open a conversation about constitutional, common sense ways to reduce gun violence in America.
There's common sense. 90% of the people want some sort of background check. But the devil's in the details, right? Isn't that what it's all about? And here's why this is even tougher in a situation like this right now. Because Americans have seen, for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, some of their freedoms impinged upon. From wearing a mask to be told they can't go to work, to hunker down and settle in place, and all of these things. It's tough to come out and say, all right, now guns. Even though that was always on the agenda for Biden, the reality is much different when you get out there and you start looking around and saying, oh, hold on a second. Some of these people are already pissed off. They've lost some of their freedoms. Even if we think it's for the right reasons and we're not doing it in a nefarious way, we think we're doing it to protect them, you're going to get a lot more pushback. People are frustrated. Because I think a lot of people look out there and say, yeah, I'm who doesn't want to have background checks? I'm okay with background. But what kind of background checks are we talking about? We do some of those things? Well, we do some of those things, but we want different kinds. And where are we going to go? Are you going to put us in a national database? Do you need to be tracking every move and moment? And we're going to talk about all these assault rifles, this, that, and the other. Look, anything can be an assault item. You have a car, you drive crazy, that's an assault item. Okay? Handguns still kill far more than rifles do. And a lot of people who die and they get put into death by gun is suicide. Nobody's ever interested in having a real conversation about what would be the best. It's not going to be perfect. For some, it'll always be going too far. For others, it'll never be far enough. But the exhaustive majority, this is where we come in. And we have the conversation. And we need to have a conversation. But what ends up happening is the conversation's always hijacked by people who are more concerned about their soundbite, who are more concerned about control, and less concerned about the actual outcome itself.
Background checks bill passed the House. It passed it overwhelmingly. It's supported by 90% of Americans, 80% of gun owners. It's a very important thing to do. That is not to say we wouldn't look at other things as well.
What other things? And that's just it. And with politics, that's always it. Ted Cruz gets it right here when he talks about what this becomes.
Every time there's a shooting, we play this ridiculous theater where this committee gets together and proposes a bunch of laws that would do nothing to stop these murders. Democrats propose taking away guns from law-abiding citizens. When you disarm law-abiding citizens, you make them more likely to be victims. If you want to stop these murders, go after the murderers.
Yeah. Go after them. But it's hard because there's nothing anybody could do. Family said this guy in Colorado, his family said, yeah, he's a paranoid. He's got all kinds of mental issues, and he got a gun. Why didn't you guys say anything? Were you terrified? He's out back playing with it, and you guys are worried about. These are the things, red flags. If we're all supposed to be in it together, somebody could have probably said, hey, you know what? I don't think dude should have a gun. I think dude needs help more than he needs a gun. Who's with me? You know the first thing he asked for when he came out of the store? It's for his mommy. It's for his mommy. It's about control, but it's also about politics. And where politics is, you'll find power. And where power is, it needs something. It needs money. So it's a great way to play a game, but it's not about solving problems. Is this a problem? Anytime somebody walks into a supermarket, a mall, or anywhere else and kills people, it's a problem. We know that. But much like everything else, we should be dealing with it at the root cause of it along the way rather than blaming something. I've always said this about people who want more gun regulation, all of these things. Promise me this then, that if you get all the things you want, that you can guarantee nothing like this will ever happen again. I can't promise you that. Well, you can promise you can take away my guns and my freedoms and my rights, but you can't promise me, and you're doing it to make everything better, but you can't promise me at the end of the day that it's going to be better. Interesting. What you're saying is, well, we'd like to get guns off the street. Sounds like a great thing, but we can't guarantee that the bad guys and people who want to do harm won't get guns. So the best thing that we can do is go after people who are law-abiding citizens. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from each and every single one of you. I am 48 hours into my coronavirus vaccine. And so far, or as we like to call it, the Fauci ouchie. So far, I'm okay. Still here. Nothing weird has happened to me. I haven't grown a third eye or any of those things. I'm just kind of doing my thing. And I thought, and this is part of the problem, right? Like, this is how stuff spreads. Where as far as, everybody's expecting that if you get a shot, a vaccine, that you're going to be sick as a dog for 48 hours, but then you'll be fine. And then you go and you look at the actual numbers, and you can expect that you may be a little tired, maybe get a headache for a few hours. That's expected no matter what. But then you start looking up and you're like, okay, 95% of people have very little reaction to this. Maybe a sore arm for a day or two, maybe a headache. But it just shows you what happens, because we tend to gravitate towards this thing where, oh my God, this is going to be awful. Oh my God, I'm going to get this. This is going to be, oh my God. I never thought that. I thought, you know what, my arm might be sore for a day or so. And, but you know what I did? I golfed yesterday. I golfed the day I got it. And I haven't had anything, people say, are you tired? How would I know if I'm tired? I wake up, I go to bed at 9:30 or 10, wake up at 2:30 in the morning. I would say I'm tired, period. But my Fauci ouchie's okay. But the pushback, somebody just tweeted at me a little while ago, yeah, you're laughing now. But how many vaccines does Moderna produce? Moderna's been around since 2010. It's new technology. BioNTech, who they work with, and several others, they all produce something. Like I say, if you're worried about it, I get it. Totally. At the same time, I tell everybody, go do your research. I'm not like one of these people to say you have to get one. And at the same time, also, when you're researching, research the lawyers. And if the lawyers feel like it's an okay thing, because at the end of the day, as we were just talking about, it's about dollar bills. There's a reason there's a K Street in D.C. where lobbyists spend hundreds of millions and billions of dollars courting these people. There's a reason for that. Absolutely. And that reason's money. And if the lawyers say, hey, you know what, I think we get away with this thing, I think it's totally fine. Then you think to yourself, all right, well, they say it's okay, so we're going to just move on with it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. A lot of stuff to squeeze into today. What is the happiest time of your life? This is the age that people feel like that's it. There's your happiness right there. We're going to touch on that because I found it to be very interesting. Because you look back, I think, nostalgically, it's like, oh, is this the happiest time? And then you realize, you know what? Depending on where you are, could be the happiest time right now, depending on your age. And no matter what your age is. We're going to touch on that, as well as aliens. Oh, they're out there. Kind of, sort of. Maybe. Maybe it's just UFOs. Oh, maybe. And more on gun control and immigration as well. All right, AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, talk about people who go out and lobby. They do that. They do that on your behalf. Why do they do that? Because you share their values. Things like the First and Second Amendment, right? We always talk about why do you have the Second Amendment in case the First doesn't work, right? You need people out there fighting on your behalf, right? You do. You need people out there fighting on your behalf, and that's what AMAC does. On top of that, they offer top line opportunities for retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, as well as, insurance, life insurance, supplemental insurance, everything and then some. And it is just a great organization. Now's your chance to join. It's $16 a year, pennies a day. It's simple and easy. You go to amac.us/Chad to join. amac.us/Chad. amac.us/Chad. Join today. You'll be happy you did. Chad Benson Show.
Serving up talk radio medium rare and dripping with irony. It's Chad Benson.
What should we do to reduce gun violence? We should support our police, we should enforce our laws, and we should, yes, lock up criminals. What we should never do is create new, vague laws to restrict the constitutional rights of law-abiding gun owners. All of these new restrictions fail to stop criminals from breaking the law, but they do result in liability for Americans who responsibly own guns to protect themselves from the same criminals that are getting away without real jail time to commit crimes against innocent civilians when they should be locked away.
Tom Cotton, right there. Very interesting. Look, this guy. When let's take a bigger step back so we can get a better view of everything when it comes to gun violence. Most of them are handguns. Most of the deaths, a good portion of them are suicide. So let's take that out of the equation if we're talking about shootings. So then you've got gang violence. Gang violence doesn't seem to be the same kind of epidemic that this is. Why? Because there's a narrative here. The narrative is usually white guy goes in, kills a bunch of people. White guys are bad. That's part of it. At the end of the day. Yeah, locking up criminals is what we should be doing, especially violent criminals. Come on. I don't think anybody opposes that. Well, maybe some super crazies do. But outside of that, locking up criminals, this wasn't that guy, right? That guy last week in Georgia, that wasn't that guy. That guy you don't know about. That guy's working in an office next to you. That guy has, lives maybe online a lot and you don't know much about them. And that's who that guy, That's a harder thing to do. We know what a criminal, as far as not a person who commits a criminal act, a person who is, hey, this is what they do, if you will, for a living. Like if they had a resume, it'd be like criminal. We're not talking about. We're talking about people like people have mental illness. Because you may see somebody who functions during the day, but you don't know where they're going. You know what they're doing at night. You don't know what they're thinking. We don't know what anybody is thinking. We don't have telepathy, right? So the guy that did this, whoever, said person is in any of these situations, very rarely do they give you the opportunity to stop them because they're a non-starter. You don't think much about them. A little bit weird, right? A little antisocial. We kind of know what they are, but we can't look at everybody who's that way and says, oh, that's the killer. I've identified the shooter. So it's funny when we talk, oh, it's an epidemic, it's this, that, and the other. We know kind of what we're looking for. The problem is there's lots of them, and 99.9% of them aren't killers. But that's what this has become. It's the gun's fault. I'm still talking more about the gun than the guy who did this. Right? And last week we're talking about the guy who did this only really based on the fact that it's a hate crime. It's got to be a hate crime. It's got to be. Well, what if it isn't? But no, it just has to be. Yeah, but that's the narrative you're trying to push. But what if it isn't? What if the thing he hates the most was himself and he took it out on people? Which, by the way, it's horrible. We're not interested in solutions-based fixes. We're interested in political-based fixes and fixes that make us feel good on Instagram and Twitter, but don't really solve anything because we'd have to dig a little deeper. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet and text. Love hearing from all of you. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about guy, cinnamon toasted cereal. He found supposedly some shrimp, which is probably just, I don't eat shrimp or cinnamon toasted, so I really don't care. Look, if it doesn't have a bunny rabbit on it or a Captain with a crunch. Apple Jacks is my favorite because A is for apple. J is for Jacks, and they're cinnamon and they're toasty, but they're Apple Jacks without shrimp. It's gross. And it's like it's everywhere. That story's everywhere. Part of it's gone viral, yes, but they're covering it in like the Post and like the New York Times, and they're like, "Is this what makes news now?" Yeah, part of it, what it is. I read an article yesterday in the Washington Post that said Trump said, when I'm gone, you guys are going to struggle with ratings. And they said he was right. And he absolutely has been. Go look at the numbers right now. Go look at the numbers and think about this for just a second. Right. So let's live in an alternate dimension for just a moment. Think about a place where Trump's not here. He was here and then he was gone. But there is no coronavirus. What is the media talking about? Well, they got a shooting, so they've got something. But then it didn't fit the narrative the way they thought it was going to fit. And those things only last a few days. Now they could debate the gun stuff. But that immigration, they got all over Trump for immigration to the point where you're looking over and you're seeing what's happening with immigration and the way that Biden's handling it. So probably... What would they be? Are they going to cover his what's going on with China, North Korea, and stuff? Trump was more than just a bump for not just him, but for individuals. He gave individuals a massive, he was a career maker. People got best-selling books out of it, got huge advances out of it. They advanced their careers. Some of them got new contracts that were massive. Even when Trump went after things like Vanity Fair, they got extra readers. They said his attack on them, I think they got an extra 13,000 people that subscribed to the magazine. So even something as a tweet of this is what they did to me, or I like that, he was able to move in such a way. Even now, Bernie Sanders came out. He was on with Ezra Klein. And he says, I find it disturbing that he's not on Twitter. I find it disturbing that they, and I think part of that is the fact that they've got no villain. I think Tom Cotton's not a villain, is it Marjorie Greene? Does anybody really care? Most people couldn't pick her out of a lineup. So they're missing something. The media absolutely is. They're missing a talking point, and they're missing a villain. They're missing a villain. The only thing that's happened in the ratings-wise, MSNBC down big, CNN has just been obliterated, and then you've got Fox, while down, they're in first place. And part of the reason is when you're able to play offense rather than defense, so the opposite is in power of your belief, you usually gain viewership. All of them had gained viewership because of Trump. But now, the only ones kind of keeping some of it is Fox. So yes, that qualifies as news now. Some sort of bug or crustacean inside of your cereal that you did not order. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the show, some of the other stuff happening in the world. Yeah, immigration still there. Immigration still an issue. Immigration not going anywhere.
The White House under fire from all sides, accused of not having a plan in place to handle the surge after it overturned many of President Trump's hardline immigration policies. Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar of Texas calling the situation at the border something the White House won't, a humanitarian crisis.
The administration has all the good intentions. They want to treat the kids in a humane way. But in trying to do this, their good intentions are being overwhelmed by numbers.
The children just keep coming.
Yeah. Good intentions. Well, first of all, why? Why are they coming? Well, there's all kinds of issues. Once again, when you look at immigration, see, if you're going to call it a crisis, it's got to be a humanitarian crisis. It can't be an immigration crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis. That's what this is. Okay, whatever. Semantics. There's an issue at the border. But the issue isn't so much at the border. We're seeing the ramifications of that. The issue is 35 years of continually ignoring, continually using it to either build a base you hope one day that you'll have a chance to come and vote for you, or on the other side, cheap labor. And most importantly, a talking point that money can be raised off of. Absolutely. So we're just talking about Trump. Yeah, look, Trump, the Democrats miss Trump. They don't have a foil. He was part of the fun of the battle because that gave you opportunities to rev up the base. And in doing so, you got to do what? You got to hold on to more power potentially. You got to raise money off of it. Immigration is not something they want to be talking about because the Democrats, they spent so much time damning Trump, putting kids in cages, all of these things. And now when push has come to shove and it's all of a sudden on their side, they feel uncomfortable about it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't even want to acknowledge there's an issue. Look, I give as good as I get when it comes to both sides of these. I don't care. You do something right, you're going to get, hey, attaboy. You do something that I think is wrong, I'm going to say so. Again, based on data and facts. But you have to start dealing with it. And Biden, Really isn't. He isn't. He's allowing it to kind of continue to move in such a way while saying we're looking into some of this stuff, but in saying that, he's not really doing anything. And he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't. I think he thought, I'm going to get in here and I'm going to take on the coronavirus. I'm going to get in here and I'm going to take on the coronavirus from jump. That's my goal. Taking on the virus and making sure everybody gets a vaccine.
We've been able to organize and help increase the number of doses in a much shorter time. So by the end of May, we're going to have on hand roughly 600 million doses, enough for every American.
Yeah. And you know what? To his credit, I'm going to say this. Part of it's Trump's credit because under him, they developed the vaccines. But to Biden's credit, he has done a good portion of that. He has done the things that he's supposed to do. But it's not just one thing. Immigration is something else that needs to be dealt with. And people are asking serious questions. And then you're hearing more and more stories. Even Congress, like I say, getting involved. You get more and more people that are asking, even on the left side of the aisle, hey, this is not nothing here. There is something here.
We were able to track down the grandfather of one of those boys. You'll remember the little boy who had the pink hat. His grandfather's number was written on there. 9 years old, Justin. He walked all the way from Honduras alone without a family with a 10-year-old boy there with him, too, who was alone. That grandfather telling us he's still not heard from immigration authorities. He did speak to Justin's mom. She is happy and relieved he made it safely across the border. And they tell me that they're hoping to enroll him in school when he is released.
Boy, just what he wants. Hey, you made a perilous journey. Here's some homework. I mean, if you're a parent for just a second, right? Most of you listening probably are, or grandparent or whatever, or even a human being. It's just, maybe you're not. I don't know. Think about telling your child, we're going to write something on your hat, and off you go. And along the way, you're going to be picking up people. And along the way, you're going to be coming in contact with awful human beings. And along the way, you're going to be going through this perilous journey. And many of them are doing it with nobody they know. That is insane. Think about how bad it is. I mean, we live in a world now where parents are, we have the term helicopter parent. We have bulldozer parent. So helicopter parents always there, right? They've got the trophy for all your participations. They're hovering over you, right? Oh, they're drone parent. Whoa, we don't. Bulldozer parent is that, but they also have a bulldozer, which means if somebody gets in your way, mommy and daddy will come to the rescue. And that includes your boss. These people are so desperate that they're sending their children on journeys that are so terrifying that you and I as an adult would want no part of it. We have an issue, Mr. President, and an issue that needs to be dealt with. I think we can all agree. But we got a bigger issue, and that's 35 years in the making. Trump didn't start it. Biden didn't start it. Obama didn't start it. Bush didn't start it. Clinton didn't start it. The other Bush didn't start it. Reagan thought, well, I stopped it because I gave everybody the opportunity along with Tip O'Neill. So we said, here's amnesty, but this is the last time. No, it was just that time. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. We've got the worst inventions. I was going through this today. So we have the 20 worst inventions over the last 20 years. Some of these things are so bizarre. Slugbot. So you got slugs that are destroying your garden. It's an artificial intelligent bot that apparently helps keep the bots away. Like, think about that for a second. Slugbot. And this thing, by the way, it debuted in 2001. That's how far, artificial intelligence has come. Milky Clothes was another one. So if you look for a glass of milk and you wondered how many T-shirts could you make from it, So have I ever done that? No, I've never. I've never looked at my ice cream and go, you know what? I wonder what this would be like wearing it. Now, at some point in time, I'm probably going to miss a bite, and some of it's going to slide off, and I'll know what it's like to wear it, but not as an actual ensemble. But apparently, German fashion designer Anke Damaski did. 2011, she unveiled a fabric called Q-Milch, which was made from casein protein found in milk. The dried milk powder is heated and comes out in yard strands. Oh, my goodness. Milk clothing came out in 2019. And this one, and we got more of these, the selfie toaster. It's plain toast. We all know. I love toast, by the way. Right? I do. So, a company from Vermont, Novelty Toaster Corporation, released its customized selfie toaster using a photo of your face that guides a special metal plate that results in the perfectly crisp toast that, yes, has your face on. You know what we need to do? We need to start getting some of these items and giving them out. It's Chad Benson Show listeners. Who wants a selfie toaster? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Tweet at us. Would you do a selfie toaster? Would that be something you're interested in? If I was to procure some selfie toasters, would you like a selfie toaster? Text and tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Home Title Lock, here to protect you. Home Title Lock is great. They protect you in so many different ways, and it's pretty simple. Cyber criminals are so much faster and quicker than most people realize. And cybercrime is through the roof. You can do all you can when you're on the computer. These cyber criminals do something that you wouldn't even think about, which is stealing your title, stealing your home. Home Title Lock's here to protect you from that. So what they do is they go online. They pull a bunch of addresses. They get a bunch of names. Everything is public record, part of the world that we live in. And you think, well, it's my house. Nobody can steal my house. All they have to do is forge a few things, fake notary, and they can sign their house that is yours over to themselves. And in doing so, they could take out loans. And by the time you find out, 90 days, 120 days, you're in a heap of hurt. Your equity's gone. You could be tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars in massive debt. And the chances of you recovering that usually are slim to none. So protect yourself before it happens by going to HomeTitleLock.com. When you do that, use code, and I'm telling you guys this right now, it is simple and easy to do. Register your address, right? And then type in code radio. When you do that, you're going to get 30 days free protection. Take a look around. See if you've already been a victim. HomeTitleLock.com, code radio. HomeTitleLock.com, code radio. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
The crew of a long-range Russian bomber was preparing for a training mission, doing their routine pre-flight checks, says the Russian Defense Ministry, when something went wrong with the ejection system. It accidentally shot the four-man crew out. They weren't high up enough for their parachutes to open. 3 were killed, another's in the hospital. It happened at an air base in the Kaluga region, southwest of Moscow, and is under investigation.
Yeah, one job. Don't, they're all getting in there and stuff. Guys all right, we good? Cross-check, everything good? Fantastic. This button, don't touch this button. The big red button that says, don't touch the button, you don't touch the button. What do you mean don't touch the button? Don't touch it. No, I think touch the button. Don't touch the button. That's why I'm having class. That's why. It's right there. No, I think I touched the button. No, don't touch the button. They touched the button. Could not help it. I think he called me a name. Sure it did. Sure it did. You go from one awful situation to another one. If you guys have not seen what's going on in the Suez Canal, so know this, right? The Suez Canal is massive. It is one of the busiest shipping ports in the world, and there is an issue. We have a boat that's went a little sideways, and also you had one job to do. Well, what's my job? Don't let the boat go sideways. What'd you do? It went sideways.
No vessels are transiting north and south. It is a one-lane canal where the vessel is aground at. So right now, vessels are piling up in Port Suez in the southern end and Port Said in the northern end.
Yeah. That's from Salvatore Mercoliano. So it is piling up, which causes things not to get through, which makes issues for everybody else down the line.
This is going to have a massive impact on production, on availability of goods in Europe and in Asia.
Yeah. One job, Steve. One job.
Was it a mechanical failure? Was it operator error? Is it because of maintenance that wasn't done on the vessel? Or was it, crew fatigue?
Steve.
And so there's going to be a lot of questions about this.
Steve. It's all Steve's fault. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Tweet at us. You got to live that down forever, too. Hey, dude, remember that time that you made the boat go sideways? Yeah, the 400-yard boat. Yeah, remember that? Wow. Dude, you're not good at this. You guys are being mean. Just being honest. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Jill and I are devastated. I just can't imagine how the families are feeling, the victims whose futures were stolen from them, from their families, from their loved ones. We can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country once again. This is not and should not be a partisan issue. This is an American issue. It will save lives, American lives, and we have to act.
That right there, President Biden talking about what took place in Colorado, and the opportunity now to talk gun control legislation. What can they do? What more do they need to do? Remember, we're not interested in getting to the root cause of this. Was this guy, was he crazy? Was he, we're not interested in any of those. Did he have mental health issues that were serious? Were there plenty of signs missed? Of course. Because when we do the postmortem of anything, there will be things that are missed and that we say, hey, you know what? Next time we're kind of getting a feel of what it is that we're looking for. So we should be on the lookout for this. It's not about that. It's let's go and let's look at all of these issues here. And let's first and foremost, how can we profit off them? Meaning, how do we raise money? How do we keep ourselves in power? I don't think there's a human being out there of right mind that didn't think this was horrible. Well, I don't think there is anybody out there, right? It's like the NRA, people get mad at the NRA. Like, what, do you think that they love waking up and going, oh, good, somebody shot 10 people, so now everybody can hate us more? That's stupid. Stop being stupid. But are we serious about getting to a point where we're going to potentially stop a few of these? As long as human beings will exist, there will be tragedy, there will be horror, there will be atrocities. If you want to get rid of humans, you can stop that. If that's your goal, is to stop it 100% completely, then you're probably going to have to get rid of human beings. It's probably what you're going to have to do. Well, we can't do that. Well, no. People will find a way. We think we're the only ones. Did you see there was a shooting? Was it Nigeria yesterday? 136 people killed. Look, America has a love of guns. You know what America has a love of? Freedoms. Right now, we feel like our freedoms have been taken. We've been indoors for the last year, and the times we're outdoors, it's in a limited capacity in certain settings. And people aren't looking for government to go reaching in and trying to do something else.
We can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country once again. I got that done when I was a senator. It passed. It was law for the longest time, and it brought down these mass killings. We should do it again. We can close the loopholes in our background check system, including the Charleston loophole. That's one of the best tools we have right now to prevent gun violence.
What gun kills the most, though? That's the question. If we want to stop this, what gun? Almost 80% of all murders are committed by handguns. What? Yeah. That's a lot. Yeah, it is. We're not going after handguns. We're not. And remember, there are mass shootings in this country where people used handguns. Was it Virginia Tech? We're still not addressing issues that need to be addressed. This guy had issues. There were warning signs. It's tough, right? If you think, you would think, like everybody always thinks that, oh man, if your friend was gonna go, potentially crazy and kill a bunch of people, you would tell people. Wouldn't you tell people? Would you? Family member? Would you tell? You'd like to think so. What are they going to do? They're going to come in and say, hey, we're going to take your guns? Well, that's the whole point. Yeah, I understand that. This guy had signs. His family knew he had signs. His family's going, hey, he's got mental issues. Why has he got a new gun and playing out back? Don't worry about it.
ABC News has learned law enforcement officials are investigating whether Alyssa suffered from mental health issues. But the exact motive for the murder spree he's suspected of committing that left 10 people dead remains unclear. Former classmates suggesting Alyssa may have been a ticking time bomb. Some telling the Denver Post that while Alyssa was often pleasant, he had a hair-trigger angry temper and once threatened to kill his peers.
It's always afterwards. Oh, we knew. We knew. But there's still not a lot you can do. Just because somebody says something like that doesn't mean, because 99.9% of times people that are antisocial or a little bit awkward or maybe have a hair temper, when it comes to their temper, their hair trigger, boom, doesn't make them a killer. So what do? Well, let's go after the gun. All right, so we're going to go after the gun. How are you going to go after the gun? Where do you stop? What's in the fine print? Well, we want background checks. Yeah, absolutely. We have to have all these background checks. That's the thing that matters most. If we get background checks, is that going to stop everything?
90% of the public is asking for background checks. You have to begin listening to them.
But they also want to know what's in it. They do. I'm a law-abiding gun owner. I don't want these things to happen. I don't know any gun owner who wants these things to happen. Nobody does. But I also don't want my government overreaching. I also don't want my government, because it's mine and it's yours, using tragedy to flex more muscle and gain more power. It's how do we do this in a proper way without punishing people who've done nothing wrong, all because a few have done something wrong. And I've always said this. Hey, gun people that want to take guns away, promise us this. There'll never be anything ever again crime-wise committed like this. Period. Case closed. End of story. Well, we can't promise you that. Then what are you doing? Well, I mean, we can't because the people who really want to do something will find a way. They will. And it's sad. It's not about the solution. My old boss used to say, he was great, wonderful, talks like this. Don't bring me problems, Chad, bring me solutions. Because he wanted solutions. He was solutions-based. In the public world, in the private world, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. In the public world, I don't want a solution. Make sure the problem continues to go on. Because where there's problems, there's money to be made. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you still alive 2 days later from the, as we're calling it, the Fauci ouchie. It's the Fauci ouchie. Yeah, still here. We've, we're kind of swimming in it out here. We were just talking about this earlier. We had people that, like today here in Arizona, everything opens up. So 16 or older, you can go get your shot, right? So you're 16 or older, you can go get your shot. Interesting thing, it's like we can't give some of these shots away. We had one of our younger news reporters. She went to Walgreens the other night to pick up a prescription. The guy's like, have you been vaccinated? She's like, no, not yet. He goes, do you want one? She got one right there. Last night at, State Farm Stadium where the Cardinals play, it was almost 1,000 extra shots. They were trying to give them away, telling, essentially anybody, come get them if you want them. It's one of those things where we're going to be swimming in this sooner rather than later. But it doesn't mean people are going to go get their shots. I made a choice to go get one. I did. I work around people. Makes them feel more comfortable. I'm totally fine with that. 110%. I'm totally fine with that. Do I think that I'm going to grow a third eye or a tail or, as I joked around yesterday, want to go, garden for Bill Gates or farm or whatever he's doing? No. I don't. And it should be a personal choice. And we shouldn't root for or against anybody. If you get one, you'll say, oh, well, you got one. That's your choice. Let me know how it goes. And if you don't get one, don't root against them by hoping, I hope you get sick. And that's the dumbest thing in the world. It's the stupidest thing ever. And I see it on all the sides. Even, I told you, I got one. And people, they come out and attack you. Some people are like, oh, I hope that, this helps other people get vaccines. I'm like, well, that's, if you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. Why would you say something like that? Because I don't care if you get a vaccine. I can only be in charge of me and my family. Right? I can't be, and the same thing goes for somebody else. And what somebody else does with their body and their wants and needs to feel like they're safe or to know that they're protected, that's up to them. This is another one of those things where it's the media loves the division, and right now they need it more than ever. Trump's not there. Trump's not there means ratings are down. Ratings are down means revenue's down. Go look at across the board. A lot of these newspapers have eviscerated their staff over the last several weeks. And even before that, they had seen a decline in what was happening. And they need more eyeballs, more subscribers, more likes, more of all of that. So, the vaccine and the mask fight is something that's still great for them. It's crazy. Looking at the numbers in cable news, same thing. Fox is down 6%. CNN and MSNBC would dream to be down 6%. CNN is down so far. It is collapsed because their Trump bump is gone. Their villain is gone. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. That's why I always tell you guys, who's saying what? Like, who's telling you what? They're telling you something. Is it because there's a motive behind it? Are they giving you the actual truth? Or is their motive something different? Is their motive to piss you off, to get you angry, to cause an emotion? Or is it to actually inform you about something? Thought 323-538-2423. Tweet, text. Love hearing from all of you. Car Shield will protect you. 24/7 roadside assistance. A rental car for free while your car's in the shop. You choose the shop. They get them paid directly. Lo and behold, it works out. Now, I tell everybody, because people are like, well, Chad, I've heard Car Shield, they'll cover what you asked them to cover. It's like everything else. Read the details. Find details like your car's new. And you're not worried about the engine, but you got electronics. What do you want covered? A, the engine, B, the electronics. Because your warranty doesn't cover the electronics. B, exactly. Your car's older, you don't have a warranty or electronics. What do you want covered? The engine. There you go. You're getting it now. Simple and easy. Plans start as low as $99 a month. Call them. Get yourself covered. 800-665-2157. Use code Benson. Or go to carshield.com, carshield.com. When you do, use that code Benson. It'll save you 10% right there. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's take a peek, see what's trending the last 24 hours. First and foremost, start over in Twitter. Everybody's arguing and fighting because that's what we do. COVID trending. Krispy Kreme giving out donuts. You've got yourself vaccinated. Get yourself a free donut from Krispy Kreme if you'd like to. Oscar-nominated actor George Segal, funny guy, passed away yesterday at the age of 87 years young. Randy Johnson. Yep, the big nasty. It has been 20 years to the day. Producer Phil, you may remember this. In spring training, Randy delivered a 100-mile-an-hour fastball that happened to catch a seagull, and the seagull exploded. Whoops. Yeah. So it was crazy. My buddy Jeff Munn was actually on the call. It was his second game he had called for the Diamondbacks, and it was spring training. And he just said, man, the radio god, the baseball gods don't like me. And apparently Randy was very shaken up by the whole incident. And, of course, it's everywhere. If you've not seen it, it is a wow moment. Go on over to Google. George Segal. A lot of people searching him. National Puppy Day. It's National Puppy Day yesterday. A lot of people searching for them puppies. You're like, what? Yeah. It's very interesting. I didn't know it was National Puppy Day. Normally I get that stuff. Did not know that it was National Puppy Day. Brian Scalabrine, former NBA player. If you've not seen it, some high school kids challenge him to a game. I don't know if they knew who he was. And let's just put it this way. They got served. They call him, the joke was he's the white mamba. Yeah, he kind of was. He was the white mamba. And Better Up. Prince Harry takes on a new role at a mental health charity, Better Up. Look at him. Good for you, Harry. It's good to see you working. Because you're going to need some money, right? Because you don't, the whole thing, and this is good for you to do. Did you guys see that? Because was it Meghan Markle and them said they got married days before and all that stuff, and you found out that was a lie, and then I'm like, Piers maybe's onto something. I mean, I know he's a bad person, apparently. I really don't think he is, but just saying. Very interesting. You lied to Oprah. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Let's talk AI, the future of AI. Where we're going. Cade Metz joins us straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Great new book that people should be reading, absolutely. The authors join us. Cade Metz is joining us. Genius Makers, the Mavericks who brought AI to Google, Facebook, and the world. And AI is the place to be. And I think you know that more than anything, Kate, because that's kind of what you were doing with this book. But it is crazy where AI is taking us. It's exciting, and at the same time, it's scary.
It is, and that's what you see over the course of the book. You see the ways in which this technology has moved into our daily lives. You know, whether it's Siri recognizing the commands we speak into a phone, or driverless cars coming to the fore. And there's a lot of promise there, but there are also a lot of questions that need to be answered, not just by tech companies, but by society as a whole.
Yeah, we always, Kate, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, but we always expect the companies to do the right thing, but there are also consumers and people that we have a say in this because we're going to consume it and use it. And a lot of times we don't realize that, and we need to play a part in what's coming because some of it is very exciting, but some of it is scary. What's the exciting stuff looking forward, with AI? And then we'll get to the scary stuff.
What's happening right now are these systems, they call them language models. And what they do is they learn from enormous quantities of human written text. So digital books and Wikipedia articles and all sorts of other content posted to the internet. These systems analyze all that text for literally months on end, and they learn the ins and outs of English and other forms of natural language. And once they do that, they can perform all sorts of tasks. They can generate their own tweets, their own blog posts, even carry on a conversation. And we're starting to see this technology move into all sorts of services. The Google search engine is getting better because of this. And we're going to start to see chatbots, as they call them, systems that can carry on a conversation in ways that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, it's awesome and exciting, and I have a couple friends who are AI programmers, and I'll tell you what, I tell my kid every day, he's 10 years old, kid, I tell him, this is what you need to do. He's making close to 7 figures because there isn't enough of them, but he also tells me there are some things out there that are scary. We're talking to Cade Metz. He's got a new book out. It's called Genius Makers, the Mavericks Who Brought AI to Google, Facebook, and the World. My son's 10, and we were talking about this earlier. There's a chance he may never have to really drive himself, is there?
It's true. We're on that path, at least. Self-driving cars have seen enormous progress over the past decade, but there's still a ways to go. We're not to the point where they can deal with all the uncertainty and the chaos on the road that we kind of can deal with by second nature. But over the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to start to see these self-driving cars start to happen in a big way.
Yeah. I think it's because I'm out here in Phoenix. My show's nationwide, but we have Waymo and a bunch of these other they've been testing here, and it is interesting because you'll be driving down the street, one of them will drive by you, and there's nobody in the car, and you're like, what was that?
It's true, but what I will say is that area, there's a reason they're testing in that area, right? The roads are wide, the weather is good, you don't have a lot of rain and snow. What they're still struggling to deal with are those sorts of conditions. That's harder for these cars. So there's promise there, but they're not there yet.
All right, let's talk about some of the scary stuff, because there is some stuff in here. Ethically, there's some stuff that you think about and that like, wow, should we be doing that? Are we headed down a path that is of no return, and is it going to come back and bite us? And everybody always jokes about with AI that here comes Skynet, but that's always a possibility too. You don't know.
Yeah, but let's look in the near term. I talked about those systems that can generate their own tweets and their own blog posts, even carry on a conversation. They are also not perfect yet, but we're moving towards a world where those systems can produce disinformation. Right? We've all seen the problem with disinformation over the past 4 or 5 years. That's largely generated by humans. What happens when the machines can do that at a far greater scale and at a lower cost? I think that's a scary prospect, and I think we might have to rethink the way we view almost all content online, whether it's photos or it's text. Is it real or is it not? I think it's going to be hard to tell in the future.
Yeah, and you talk about that. We've been discussing a lot lately. You talk about the disinformation, and most of it's done by humans. Some are being done by bots, but most of them are done by humans. But that's coming. But even the deep fakes that Tom Cruise deep fake a couple weeks ago that was out there, where it looks like he was playing golf and he was doing a magic trick. It is hard to tell that that's not Tom Cruise, and they're nowhere near perfecting this yet.
It's hard to tell. And the other effect that I alluded to is it's getting easier and cheaper to do this, right? In the past, you needed a professional sitting in a studio with thousands of dollars worth of equipment to do this kind of thing. Now, with these AI systems, the average person can do it and do it much quicker and much easier. And then once it's perfected and these systems can do it, just at an enormous scale, time and time again, that's when the real change is.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking to Cade Manson, the book's called Genius Makers to Mavericks Who Brought AI to Google, Facebook, and the World. We used to look at, Cade, I love movies, and you see sci-fi, and you think, when are we going to get there? We're going to get there one day. We're getting there. We're getting very close to it. And one of the things is companionship. Robots, the artificial intelligent robots, are getting closer and closer. And I'm not just talking about the love bots, but everything. And as we become a world kind of connected but disconnected, I think this is going to be huge.
I actually wrote about this for my day job as a reporter with the New York Times. During quarantine, you saw a huge spike in the use of these conversational chatbots, as they call them. Even though they're not perfect, people found a real solace in these apps that can, to a certain extent, carry on a conversation with them, sort of give them the type of companionship, at least in some ways, that they were missing, while in quarantine during the pandemic. It's a real, human need that is being filled by technology there. And as the technology improves, again, I think this is going to become a bigger part of our lives.
Absolutely. The X Factor, you talk about it. Chapter about history. Are we onto something? Are we repeating ourselves? Is something going to go on here that we should truly be paying attention to and maybe looking in the past to give us guidance?
We absolutely should, right? Anyone who's lived over the past 4 years has seen the way much simpler technologies can really change the way the world works and create a lot of problems, right? Whether it's disinformation or other issues. As the technology gets more powerful and more complex and starts to work in these unexpected ways, the issues are going to only become bigger, right? We need to take the time to think about what we're doing as we push these technologies out into the world, whether it's these types of systems that can carry on a conversation or facial recognition systems, let alone all sorts of robotics. Driverless cars, in theory, can cut down on the number of deaths on the road. They can make our lives better, but maybe not. We need to be careful about how quickly we push these technologies, all these technologies, out into the world.
What are you worried about, Cade? I mean, you've studied this. I mean, I look at a lot of this. I think if we're ever going to have another war, it's all going to be mostly cyber. That's what it's going to be about. We're building technologies that, both China and us in the race that's going on right now are out there with things like DARPA. But what are you worried about from a consumer, individual, societal thing rather than that kind of thing?
The misinformation thing is very big, but also surveillance. Where the technology is really working as well is the ability to recognize objects and people and images. What that means is that it's easier to surveil the population, right? Know what people are doing and when, whether it's governments or companies doing that for various reasons. That's only going to become more pointed and more pervasive. You are seeing this in China in particular ways. So they're using this technology to identify an ethnic minority and in some ways, control their movements. That's a real concern globally, and it's already starting to happen.
One of your, and guys, you got to get this book. It's called Genius Makers, the Mavericks who brought AI to Google, Facebook, and the world. We're talking to the author, Cade Manson. You got to get it because one of the things I loved about this is the humans are underrated. Because I think too often because we kind of just give everything over to technology, and we look at technology as it's a no-brainer thing, and it's always right. Humans are an amazing thing. We're the greatest computer of all, and we are underrated.
We are. That's actually a quote from Elon Musk, the CEO and co-founder of Tesla, the electric car company. As he was trying to move more and more robotics into his manufacturing plants to manufacture his cars and cut down on the human labor he would need, he realized that in a lot of ways that the robotic technology wasn't up to the task, that he still needed those human workers. We tend to overestimate what technology can do in the short term. And at the moment, humans are still better at most things. The AI technology is working in narrow areas, but there are so many places where humans are still very much needed, still very much superior.
Absolutely. It's how do we meld the two without, because that's Elon's goal, right? So he's going to turn us into the Matrix. So if I want to learn Spanish, I can plug it into my brain. In a couple hours, I know Spanish. That's kind of, I always joke, I'm the first one to try it because I'm interested in it. But I do understand the scariness of where we're going, and that comes to the ethical, moral part, because, people are going to start trying things in the future that would be like, oh, you want to be part computer?
Elon Musk actually has another company that's working on that very thing. It's called Neuralink, and he literally wants to put a chip into the brain that would provide a kind of interface between machines and your brain. Right now we use cell phones, right? But he says that the distance and the time between your brain and the cell phone is too large, and he wants to shrink that gap. The ambitions of people like him can be extreme. We need to certainly step back and think about that. Is that something we really want? Is it worth the complications? Is it worth the danger of putting these types of things inside our bodies?
5 years from now, a decade from now, where do you think we're at with not only AI, but just in technology in general?
We are on a trajectory, like we said, with self-driving cars and other forms of robotics. And there are places where robotics are very much needed. And one area where there's been real progress, and we can all relate to this at the current time when we're at home and we're ordering so much of what we need from companies like Amazon. Right? Amazon has to deal with all these goods coming into its giant warehouses and then shipping them back out. And what that means today is they need so many people to sort through all that. And they're having trouble, Amazon and other companies, finding the labor to do all that. There's a real need in an area like that for robotics, and it's an area where there's real progress. We're seeing machines now that can, in essence, look at a bin filled with random stuff and sort through it and put it where it needs to go next. That's an area where everything kind of lines up, right? There's not enough labor. The machines are needed, and they're getting better. And that's where you're going to see some real progress.
Crazy. I'm telling you guys, I can talk about this stuff for hours. I think this is the future. We're not going backwards. We're going forwards. And tell your kids, hey, this is where you need to be teaching. Genius Makers, name of the book, the Mavericks who brought AI to Google, Facebook, and the world. Cade Metz, thanks so much for joining us today. Appreciate it, man. Hope to have you back again soon.
Fantastic. I enjoyed it, too.
At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Great book. Get it. It is awesome. And I'm telling you guys, just AI coding. Get your kids to AI code. It's a wonderful thing. Chad Benson Show.
Irreverence? Yeah. So what? It's the Chad Benson Show.
A year ago, it would have been unfathomable, but the pandemic changed everything. Disney announcing that you'll be able to see a Marvel movie at home on the same day it opens in theaters.
At some point, we all have to choose.
Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow will debut July 9th on the big screen and small screen simultaneously. If you want to watch at home, you'll have to pay extra on Disney+. Disney, the parent company of ABC News, recently did the same thing for Raya and the Last Dragon and says that was successful. So it's doing it with Black Widow and the live-action Cruella. And Pixar's next movie, Luca, will skip theaters altogether for a Disney+ debut.
Black Widow? Really?
Right, you're not thinking clearly. All right, you've got to agree to this surgery. Because right now you're as useless as Black Widow is to the Avengers.
So, what's your superpower?
Kicking.
Oh, right, because none of us can kick. Hey, which one of you guys can kick? Hulk, stop being nice.
Jerk, Chad. There's one I'm like, I don't really care about the Black Widow. It looks kind of interesting. But they're doing, this is it. I mean, the big test is coming, though. It's coming on the 31st. It is Godzilla and King Kong. It'll be very interesting to see how this goes. And I was reading an article earlier that Anthony sent to me, so if you started, is the battle of the box office between China and North America. How big is it going to be? Can King Kong actually drum up business? Can Godzilla be Godzilla? Is it going to get people back to the theaters? Is there enough of it? Because you're also going to be able to see it at home. And is that going to have any kind of impact? I don't know. That's one of those movies. Like, I can't wait. Opening this weekend is a movie called Nobody. It's a Bob Odenkirk movie. Think about this. It's a guy who's essentially a meek kind of dork who's married in the suburbs with 2 kids. There's a home invasion robbery, and he could have probably done something. He chooses not to. His family looks down upon him, and he's just sick and tired of everybody treating him like crap. And come to find out that this guy isn't really as meek as he makes out. He's actually, as he used to call it, an auditor for drug cartels, where he goes and essentially audits you. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I'm like, I like to see that. I would go see that in the movies. I could, because it's going to be open. Don't know if I will. King Kong, I will see in the movies. This industry is got a long way to come back from, and it'll be very interesting to see how it bounces back. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Wounded Paw Project. Been working with them for a while. Amazing organization, helping veterans, but also helping animals, rescuing animals in shelters where they would be euthanized, and taking them and training them to be service dogs for our veterans, first responders, and their family, and they need your help like anything else. These things take time. And it is expensive because they're not rescuing just puppies and taking them. They're rescuing a lot of times troubled dogs that are on their last minutes and saving them and training them. A gift of a vehicle is greatly appreciated. Amazing tax-deductible gift. Get involved if you can. Find out what you can do by going to woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org. Take a look at the amazing things they're doing. woundedpawproject.org. You'll be saving a paw to save a life. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Your Instagram as well. Check us out. We got Chad Benson Show TV. We got all kinds of stuff, as well as Facebook. Go. Join the fun. Join the argument. Join the conversation. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Jill and I are devastated. I just can't imagine how the families are feeling, the victims whose futures were stolen from them, from their families, from their loved ones. We can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country once again. This is not, it should not be a partisan issue. This is an American issue. It will save lives. American lives, and we have to act.
President Biden, getting good at the empathy. So what do we do, right? Like, okay, President Biden, you want to take away assault rifles. So rifles don't kill the most in America. They make the biggest splash, for lack of a better term, but handguns kill far more. So are you worried? I'm trying to get, my thing is, like, let's come up with a solution. We have a problem. We do. Anytime somebody walks into an area and kills 10 people, there is a problem. But once again, the other several million people that have guns like what he has, right? Whether it's an AR-15 or whatever rifle they have, because that's what it is. It's a rifle. And I say it's really 50, 100 million. They didn't do that. But because of him, you're like, now we need to do this. Well, Chad, it can happen again. Could. And it probably will. I'm here to tell you, there will be an earthquake in California. There'll be tornadoes to the Midwest. There'll be a deep freeze. There'll be drought. There'll be heat throughout the Southwest. And there will be another shooting. Taking away these guns, you act like that nothing else is going to take place or that you're guaranteeing. There is no guarantees in any of this. The debate rages on. It's an opportunity to have your voice heard. It's an opportunity to go out there and to lay out something in a soundbite that sounds great for your base and great for emails and text messages that will raise, give $10 to help fight this because I'm taking it on, square on, because this is also a pandemic.
We face a pandemic of coronavirus. We have another epidemic in America called guns. We are numb to the numbers. Unless we are personally touched, it's just another statistic. That has got to stop. This committee, this hearing, I hope will open a conversation about constitutional, common sense ways to reduce gun violence in America.
Yeah. Well, that starts in several different ways. First of all, let's break it down. Let's just look at what we can, if we're going to be honest. We want to stop the killings and all of this stuff. Well, this is a long-term project. This isn't short-term. Right? This is long-term, not short-term. All right? What kills more? Are we worried about the number or the number at the time? That's a good one, Chad. Like the overall number? Yeah. Well, then it's handguns. And what do people on the left always say? Well, we want to get rid of these rifles. But no, we would never come for your handguns. No. It is handguns. Handguns. That kills more. That commits more crimes. It is that. It is handguns. Well, we don't want that. You want the big scary looking thing, right? The big scary looking thing is what you're scared of. Yeah. That's what it is. Because it fits a narrative that, we've got this and no regular human being should have any of these things. It once again goes back to the fact that it's all about optics and it's all about selling you something, but never getting down to they're not selling you the cure. They're just selling you a delay in the process of pretending to find a cure, if you will, for this. Because there is no cure, because human beings are human beings. Human beings will do dumb things. Human beings will make horrific decisions. Human beings have killed each other since the moment we became human beings. Right? The anthro guy looks over, another guy goes, I'm going to hit you with a rock. Nobody's like, we should have rock control. Hey, they did that on Family Guy. It's frustrating. It is. But you want to dig down, it's trying to figure out, hey, how did this guy get to a point in his life where he thought this somehow made sense to himself, where picking up a rifle and going into a place where people are shopping and doing nothing and killing them. How did he think that was a good idea? What caused him to do that? There's the question you start with. Can we start identifying things? Was he mentally not all there? Some people are saying that. They are.
ABC News has learned law enforcement officials are investigating whether Alyssa suffered from mental health issues. But the exact motive for the murder spree he's suspected of committing that left 10 people dead remains unclear. Former classmates suggesting Alyssa may have been a ticking time bomb. Some telling the Denver Post that while Alyssa was often pleasant, he had a hair-trigger angry temper and once threatened to kill his peers.
Okay. Did he have mental health issues? Some people are saying that. You know, the first thing he asked for after he did this was what? He asked for his mom. He asked for his mom. There are all kinds of questions around there, but drilling down to why is the place we start. But we know mental health issues. We know there are socioeconomic issues in certain places in the country, where guns are prevalent, easy to get, probably easier to get a gun than drugs in a lot of places. There are so many things that go into it. Are there too many weapons? Of course there's always too many weapons. But that's only because the too many weapons fall into too many people whose hands shouldn't have them. But you're never going to prevent that. You're always going to take away the rights and the guns of the people who do things law-abiding wise, long before you do when it comes to the criminal or the mentally ill.
As of today, police here say they don't know why 21-year-old Ahmad Alyssa allegedly carried out this attack. The focus seems to be on Alyssa's mental health. Family members saying recently he had gained a lot of weight. He became disheveled and seemed to be having mental health issues, that he had become paranoid and antisocial. His sister telling police before the shooting she saw him playing with what she thought was a machine gun that he had just bought. It's believed that was the AR rifle bought last week used in the shooting.
Yeah. I spoke to Alex yesterday. He's out there in Boulder, and he's Alex Jones from ABC News, and he and I were chatting about this, and I basically said, if you see that, why aren't you going to report that if you're worried about it? You see somebody, when somebody's going down, whether it's drugs or alcohol or what, you can see it start to spiral out of control. But then you also get caught up, and it's like, well, it's not my brother because I've known him for 20 years. It's not my, it's not. You can see it, and then looking back, you're like, there are a lot of telltale signs. There's so much that goes into it. But at the end of the day, nobody's interested in actually solving a problem. Yeah, we want background checks. 90% of Americans want background checks. Okay, well, let's read the fine detail. Let's read the fine print of what's in there. Because there are issues when it comes to a lot of what people want, like everything else. On the surface, if you don't say you want it, it makes you look bad. When you look inside, because nobody reads it, you realize, oh, no. Kind of like the bills that we pass. Do you want real solutions? Then we have to go deeper. We have to be honest. If you want real solutions. Politicians aren't interested in the solution of something. They're interested in keeping whatever it is that's going on, continuing to go on. They can make speeches. They can raise money. Kind of what it's about. Welcome to the world of corporation. You find a need. You become the hero of fixing that need. But the difference between private and public is your goal is to try to solve a problem in the private world. Here it's to continue to see the problem move forward. This is my 2 cents. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. We still have a problem down there. Where? Immigration. Perfect example of something that's continuing to go on. Continuing. And this, much like everything else, is long-term. Why? Because the problem is where the money's at.
The White House under fire from all sides, accused of not having a plan in place to handle the surge after it overturned many of President Trump's hardline immigration policies. Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar of Texas calling the situation at the border something the White House won't, a humanitarian crisis.
The administration has all the good intentions. They want to treat the kids in a humane way. But in trying to do this, their good intentions are being overwhelmed by numbers.
The children just keep coming.
Yeah. And they're not stopping. And we're going to touch on this because, and I'm going to paint a picture of children coming here. And I want you guys to think about that. We're going to touch on immigration because you've got to make it real. And both sides have to be in a situation where they understand, where we're not just the other side's coming from, but where the failures have been. And also understand that, you know what, in getting to some sort of solution, we are not going to make everybody happy. But it's better than what we currently have. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Still alive. My Fauci ouchie. That's what we're calling it. I got my Moderna the other day. I'm always amazed to see people go, when you got your Moderna, huh? You got this, you got that. So, you're just a government sheeple. I'm like, settle down. Settle down. My goodness me. People are just, we want to see people who get the vaccine. One side wants to see them get sick or find out something later on. Go, told you guys you're going to work for Bill Gates one day and the government's tracking you because it's got something in there. And the other side, right, they want to see the people who don't get the vaccine get sick so they can say, I told you. It's like, how about this? You get it, you don't get it, but none of us get sick. Would that be pretty good? Okay. It's not going to happen. But still. And everybody's got a story, too. It's like, well, you didn't get the vaccine? No. Well, you may get it. I've already had it. How was that? That was fine. Well, I've got a story for you. It's always, they got something else on top of that, just to show you that even though your body fought it off, that there's something else that could have happened. Okay. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from all of you. Imagine if your house, somebody refinanced it and took out tons of money. Oh, yeah, sometimes you have to do that. No, but imagine, I said, if someone did that to your home and you didn't know about it until 90, 120 days later. What? Yeah. Home title theft is real. And it's not just people taking out loans. Sometimes people steal homes, especially second homes of people, and they just move on in. And then the legal battle begins because you didn't do it, but your stuff is all public. And from there, cyber criminals forge signatures, forge notaries, sign their home, your home over to them, and then it's too late. Home Title Lock is here to protect you from top to bottom. When something happens to your title, whether somebody's just pulling it to make sure that all the legal's in the right place and that they missed, crossing a T and dotting I, that you know about it. You can protect your home now with Home Title Lock. Go to HometitleLock.com. Register your address. See if you've already been a victim. And grab 30 days free protection. Use code radio. HometitleLock.com, code radio. HometitleLock.com, code radio. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
For the fourth year in a row, the World Happiness Report naming Finland world's happiest country. This year, the report tried to understand what effect the pandemic was having on people's well-being. The report's editor saying in a statement, quote, of all the factors usually supporting happiness, the most important for explaining COVID-19 death rates were people's trust in each other and confidence in their governments, end quotes. It's apparently that trust that kept Finland in the number one spot.
Yeah, Finns are super happy. That and a lot of meds. But trust in the government. We're built on essentially not having trust in the government. That's why we have a constitution. That constitution is supposed to protect us along with our gun from said government. Do I trust our government? Look, I don't trust our government in everything they say. That'd be foolish, right? Some of the stuff they do, it's because, you know what, we don't need to know everything, right? We don't need to know everything. Other things, because government has become business, much like business, which they, one side of the aisle always blames for the ills of everything, does things that benefit themselves. No. But our entire being, if you will, in this country is the fact that we didn't trust. We didn't want to be beholden to a king with zero representation. And, we put in place a document on how we should essentially protect ourselves and have our rights from said government. As far as As far as whether or not we trust each other, that's a whole different story. Like I say, what perfect example is the coronavirus. I can only do what's right for me and my family, and that's it. So if you choose to get a vaccine or don't get a vaccine, that's a you thing. I can only do what's right for me, and, I've already had it. I did everything right. I still got it. Now, it didn't really affect me, but I had people who it did affect big time. And I had other people that got it, and it really didn't affect them. Some people, you thought, well, that person got really, really sick, and you would never thought that. Other people, you thought that person's going to die if they get it, and they got it, and they didn't even know it. But at the end of the day, it's really about personal responsibility. So I can only be as responsible for my actions. Other people may do stupid things, but whether or not I trust other people, well, let's say you start with trust, but it's easy to lose and hard to rebuild. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Happy Wednesday. Got over the hump, you know what I mean, baby? That's what we'll do here. I was just telling producer Phil, because, I got the Moderna shot the other day. There's never any good side effects. It's never like, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you. Like, I told you all the bad stuff. Let me tell you some of the good stuff that could happen. You could become taller. You could become faster. You could become handsome. You could become beautiful to the eye. You could have a singing voice. Remember how you couldn't sing before? Now you could. It's never anything good. It's never anything good. It's always all the bad stuff. It's always explosive diarrhea. And they always have to throw in, look, you could explode. You could have a stroke. You could have it's like they check everything off. You may die from, like a bus falling on you from 50 stories. It's like they check it all off. Wow. I'm like, what? Never anything good. Never any like, oh, I forgot to tell you, here's the great thing. There's a chance you wake up tomorrow, you have six-pack abs. I don't know where that came from. That's one of the crazy fun side effects of this stuff. I'm just saying, you never get that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Lots going on. Obviously, the gun debate raging will continue to do so. And then we'll dissipate because we have the attention span of a gnat, and we'll be on to something else. One thing that's not going away is immigration.
Immigration and equal pay are on the agenda for President Biden today. This afternoon, he meets with his Homeland Security Secretary, his Secretary of Health and Human Services, and other immigration advisors. Later, the president will be joined by First Lady Jill Biden to mark Equal Pay Day at an event featuring Megan Rapinoe and members of the U.S. women's soccer team who've been fighting for pay parity with the men's national team. Today, March 24th, marks the day that women have to work into 2021 to make what white non-Hispanic men earned in 2020 alone.
I swear, it's always about those white non-Hispanic men. Those people are the worst. They're the problem for everything. They are. They're the problem for every... Look, equal pay sounds great. And I think the women's national team they deserve equal pay. Now, not in their professional contracts. With the national teams, I have zero problems with that. Like when you're playing for your country, I think it should just across the board. Then it should be revenue based. Like the WNBA, you're not getting the same money as the NBA. You're a tax write-off. I saw the NCAA women. They gave them essentially shake weights, and the guys had everything, and they looked stupid. The NCAA fixed that problem. Now it's like, well, our food's not good enough, and it's like, so again, there's always going to be, something's not good enough. All things being equal, absolutely. Not everything's equal. We're always trying to make it out. It's like everything's equal. Well, we should get this. Okay, why should you get it? Based on what? Based on what should you get that? If it's based on revenue, no. Sorry, WNBA, you are a money losing system. If it's NCAA, ladies, I mean, it's college. You guys should all get the exact same in a sense. as much as you can because you're different places, right? But do you think that the women's lacrosse team, at Syracuse has the same access and equipment that the men's football team does? Probably not. Probably the men's lacrosse team doesn't either. We're always looking to make it, because it's a great thing to say. I was like, oh, everybody should be paid the exact same. No, they shouldn't. They should be based on their skill level and what they do to produce in said situations. But when you're paying for your country, it totally should be the same. Zero problems with that. I don't think anybody should have a problem with that. The fact the United States Soccer Federation failed the women, and the women won the World Cup. The men didn't qualify. Now, granted, the men have a much harder road to qualify and win. We should still have qualified. But we're, and winning it we're still not this time. And we've got a great group right now that's young. We finally have guys that are producing in the world's biggest leagues at a high rate who are worth a lot of money as far as if you were to buy them, because that's what they do in Europe. They buy and sell players rather than trade. So, yeah, we're not this World Cup. The next World Cup, when we host it along with Canada and Mexico, there's where you're looking like, all right, we can make some noise. But I zero problems. You play, whatever it is that you're doing, when it comes for something like your country or it's no problem with that. Outside of that, it's tough because it's individual and it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't. Now, on the immigration side of things, as we talked about gun control, we have no immigration control. Could you mention, hey, can we have immigration control? Is that possible? You want gun control, people want immigration control. Nothing is happening with immigration the way it should. Now, when the president took over, let's be completely honest. My first thought is, let's take care of the coronavirus, because I didn't think immigration would take off the way it has. I thought it would be a bit. But no. And now we're in a situation where immigration is not only front and center during the middle of this pandemic, it has become something that even Biden can't ignore, because the media itself is making sure that everybody knows there are things going on.
The Biden administration today is allowing a small group of reporters into a facility housing unaccompanied migrant children in Carrizo Springs, Texas. A delegation of members of Congress and White House officials will be visiting this tent-like facility that's run by the Department of Health and Human Services. The Biden administration has pledged transparency, but has been under pressure for weeks to allow media access to facilities like this one.
Yeah.
Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
Yeah, they're not. They've been quiet. They're not allowing access. They're getting questions that they should be getting. You would think this is good. You're asking serious questions. But the problem is 35 years in the making. And much like what goes on in the world of guns and the debate about guns, it isn't going away tomorrow, because there's really no incentive for it to go away if you can raise money and use that as another tool in your toolbox to continue to keep you in power. But I think more and more people are calling for something to get done. And the unaccompanied minor thing, I want to paint a picture for you guys. Right? Just, think about who we are as a nation. Think about what we've become. We've become a nation of helicopter parents, drone parents, parents where you look for your child every single moment. You give them a trophy for everything. You build your life in and around them. And you don't even let them walk to the park by themselves. And now we have the bulldozer parents, where even as a young adult, if a boss is mean to you, you may get a call from your mommy or daddy to that boss. If you have a problem at school, mommy and daddy are going to go bulldoze it for you. They're going to do everything for you. But think about how bad it has to be in other parts of the world where you send kids here on a treacherous journey.
We were able to track down the grandfather of one of those boys. You'll remember the little boy who had the pink hat. His grandfather's number was written on there. 9 years old, Justin. He walked all the way from Honduras alone without a family, with a 10-year-old boy there with him, too, who was alone. That grandfather telling us he's still not heard from immigration authorities. He did speak to Justin's mom. She is happy and relieved he made it safely across the border. And they tell me that they're hoping to enroll him in school when he is released.
Which, by the way, is like, hey, great, you walked a perilous journey. By the way, here's some homework. But think about this for a second. So we live in this world. You know, I mean, like now it's like when I talk to my kids and you know, and even some of the young adults I work with here, you know, they're like, what's a latchkey kid? Because that's what I was, you know. It's like, essentially, you know, they used to pin a key that was your key to your house and you'd go home. I mean, you're 5, 6, 7 years old. You could just go home and you'd open the door and you'd go in and you'd live your life. Mom and dad wouldn't be there. And oh my God, I can't believe that. We don't let kids go across the street. How bad is it somewhere? And how desperate are people that people will go, all right, here's what's going to happen. You're going to latch on to this group of people that is making their way down. And maybe, you know, somebody, you know, this is a person that, you know, we know, but you really don't know, but you're going to make your way down with some of these people. And you're going to head down, and it's going to be a perilous journey, a treacherous journey, fraught with danger, chances of you getting killed, exploited for all kinds of gains, becoming essentially a part of a criminal empire through no choice of your own. That may happen, but it's so bad here that I'm willing to allow you to do that. Here, I'm going to write a number on your hat. Wear this, don't lose it, and when you get down there, if you can, make sure you reach out to us. That is insane. That is insane. Much like guns, if we're going to fix this thing, it starts not just here, but elsewhere. We should be mad at people. We should be mad at poor governments. We should be mad at the millions upon billions upon trillions of dollars that have been wasted throughout parts of Central America and other lands. But the want and need for freedom and opportunity outweighs so many things, and people are willing to do that. That's a tough thing to fix. And it's not just going to be fixed by building a wall and saying, all right, we're going to have these rules and we're going to do these things. It's going to be sorted out when we want to get serious about how we're going to deal with some of these things. And also some of the countries that are the biggest culprits of this, we start holding them responsible on the other end. It's not a one size fits all. It's not going to make everybody happy. Nothing ever will. Try to please everybody, you'll please nobody. But it's too big of an opportunity for both parties to pass up when it comes to demonizing one side, scaring the other side, and raising money and keeping power. But just think about that today. Think about you being 8, 9, or 10 and walking across several countries to get to here to potentially see your grandfather who you may not have seen forever in a day. I mean, now it's like, you must see your grandfather if he's alive. You just hop on a plane if he lives across the country. I mean, you know, pandemic excluded, and you head on over there. No. Hell, people don't even want to walk to their car, to get in their car, to drive to the store, to get food, to come home and make it. We've got somebody's like, I got the DoorDash app. They'll bring my food. Maybe they'll feed me. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet, text. Love hearing from you. Car Shield gives you 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. That shop, kids, is the shop that you choose, which is awesome. They get them paid directly. You pay a small deductible. It's that simple. Now, they've got tons of different plans. You need to find out the plan that's right for you. That's why I say devil's in the details. Call them up, explain to them, be specific at exactly what it is that you're looking for. And in doing so, guess what? You'll have a plan that fits your budget and what's right for you. That's simple. They've helped over 1 million drivers. They're ready to help you. CarShield is America's #1 auto protection company. Call them now, 800-665-2157. Use code Benson. That saves you 10%. Or check everything out online at carshield.com, carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
David Dobrik apologizing.
There's a lot of mistakes that I made, and I'm sorry for that.
His social media empire flipped upside down over the last week after a woman accused one of Dobrik's former associates of rape, an assault that allegedly occurred in 2018 during filming for one of Dobrik's YouTube videos. Dobrik says he cut ties with the accused rapist in 2019 and acknowledges he created a toxic environment that allowed and encouraged bad things to happen. And sponsors are bolting, Chipotle, EA Sports, HelloFresh, and more cutting ties. And Dobrik says he's taking a break from creating content.
Yeah. So it wasn't him, but he, I guess, helped create or foster. So wait, let me get this right. You have a bunch of young men who are already young and stupid because when I was young, first of all, pretty stupid now. When you think about it, like the more you know, the less you really know. And but yeah, I mean, that's part of what it is that these guys do. And this guy, I mean, like overnight, it's all changed. And that's what happens in this day and age. In this day, in this age, overnight, somebody finds out something you did. And I think I was trying to figure this out the other day. We were actually discussing this, a couple buddies of mine, that how many people are in a position right now where they've got some fame or some power, whatever it is, and it's just a ticking time bomb because they know that something is going to come out about them or somebody can say something and that it can all be over. And some of it may very well be a warranted thing that should be talked about. And some of the other stuff, it's like you had to be there. You don't understand, but we don't care in this day and age. I don't know what this guy did, but I just, he is like, overnight, he lost like 60 million views. That's how you get paid. And it's telling you, it is, it's a weird situation now where you look around and you start thinking to yourself, okay, who's next? Did they do something? Didn't they do something? Was it real? Was it, are we going to take it out of, and this is and I say this because I think people think, well, it's, that's only stars. No, it's not. It's everyday people. How many times do you see somebody who gets caught on film joking around or says something or that so-and-so, it gets brought up to their boss and they're in trouble. It happens far more than you think. And that's that woke, weird world that we live in now. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. It's the hot mic thing, right? Joking around on a mic. Next thing you know, you didn't understand. Oh, you got no. Yeah, no. Case in point, not joking around, but real. Now, everybody's got a problem every now and then with a referee. People in the NBA who watch the NBA always think it's rigged and they only want this and everything's rigged and there's the conspiracy of it and stuff. But the NHL was swift to move to fire a referee by the name of Tim Peel, who was on a hot mic on Tuesday night. Red Wings and Predators. Peel was heard saying that he wanted to get a penalty against Nashville because he had called a penalty against Detroit that he shouldn't have, which led to a goal. So he wanted essentially to give them a makeup call, and everybody's like, see? But then you've got other referees who are former referees coming out and saying, look, makeup calls happen all the time. It's kind of what happens. If you go and look at the stats, that's always, even when I was playing sports, right? Unless you knew the referee was just plain awful. It was always like that, right? You'd get a call that you didn't deserve, but it's only because you didn't get a call earlier you did deserve, or vice versa. And you were just waiting for it. Solid, fun show, as always. You guys have a blessed day. Smile, dance, be happy. We got you over the hump. We will do it again tomorrow on Night Night Jack.
This is The Chad Benson Show.